Hanukkah is a complicated holiday. On the one hand, it is one of the most fun, especially if you have children in your family. Who doesn't like presents, lights, latkes, donuts? On the other hand, because of Christmas culture, Hanukkah gets either downplayed or blown up out of proportion. You might say it's not a big deal holiday and try to control the gimmies shoved into every message of society at this time. Or you might embrace it. The community, the participation, and the fun, sparkly lights, they make us happy. Throughout Jewish history, we have also vacillated in Hanukkah's lessons and importance. At its core, in Maccabees, Hanukkah is a military victory. But following the failed Bar Kokhba revolt of 135 of the Common Era, our ancestors tried to diminish the military aspect of the Hanukkah story, focusing instead on the miracle. Over the next 2,000 years, Jews may be described as pacifists, or simply as having no ability to use military might for our own purposes, while often being conscripted into others' armies. This past week, we saw the terrorist massacre of Jews gathered in a public celebration of Hanukkah on Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. We saw the heroic actions of Syrian immigrant Ahmed al-Ahmed risking his life as he attacked and successfully disarmed one of the gunmen. We have seen the usual platitudes of politicians, the usual Judaic teachings of bringing light into darkness. We've seen gun control debate praised, often by liberal Americans, or excoriated, sometimes by Israelis. We've seen blame laid at ISIS as the flag of support was reportedly found in the assailant's car, blame at the Australian government for not heeding warnings, particularly around anti-Semitic language. Our community here at Temple leapt into action to ensure our Hanukkah celebration would have extra security and that our community would still choose to come together in celebration and in safety. Hanukkah is a story of the family of Judah Maccabee coming together and risking everything for the continuation of Judaism, saying we will not prevent our God from being worshipped. We will not allow Antiochus to place Greek gods in our temple without pushback. But Hanukkah succeeded in this through war, through a violent rebellion that attacked the empire, but also attacked Hellenized Jews. So, are the Jews of Hanukkah life-affirming, bringing light into darkness? God will send miracles, a pacifist kind of people? Or are the Jews of Hanukkah warriors and martyrs, willing to die and kill for the sake of their faith? Or are the Jews of Hanukkah something balanced in between, life-affirming, but only if that life is lived Jewishly in the path God has commanded, seeker of miracles and finding them in the human actions of every day, bringing partnership with God into the very act of the miraculous. Perhaps not a warrior people, but not a pacifist people. A people who knows they must be willing to die and to kill to save the greater family, to save the life that is affirmed through the acts of Judaism. This week's Torah portion, Parshat Miketz, as board member Robert Friedman so aptly described as a parsha of the middle. Not the beginning, not yet the redemptive end. It is something in the middle. Joseph has become the Grand Vizier of Egypt with the power of life and death over all the lands as famine has devastated the harvest. His brothers travel from Canaan to find food sources, and Joseph instantly recognizes them, but they do not recognize him. He sends them off with the food they need, but insists the only way to receive more resources will be to return with Benjamin, his biological brother and protected brother of their father. When they return with Benjamin, after very tough negotiations with Jacob, Benjamin is treated specially. He receives extra food. And then Joseph tricks them. He sends them off with the promised food sources, but hides a golden cup in Benjamin's bag. He sends his guards after the brothers to catch them as thieves. What will be the outcome when Benjamin is caught? Is this cruelty? Is this manipulation? Is this just desserts for all the pain the brothers made Joseph endure? Next week, we'll find the happy ending, so stay tuned. And the redemption for Judah and the resurrection for Jacob, but here, in the middle, are choices to be made. What is the proper way to receive goodwill from the Grand Vizier of Egypt? What is the proper way to ensure your promise to your father can be fulfilled when the politics of the day leave you with minimal control? Jacob's sons are seemingly at the will of the Egyptian vizier. He holds all the power. If they fight for justice, he will simply deny them the food they need to survive. Yet, a vow has been made to Jacob to return with food and with Benjamin. What choice might the brothers have? The Maccabees were in a similar state. The Assyrians had the army, the power, and the support of many of the city-dwelling Hellenized Judeans. Other groups of rebels had studiously followed the law of the Sabbath, ending in their slaughter as they refused to even fight defensively on the Sabbath. The Maccabees took a middle ground. They fought for the continuation of Judaism, for the outlawed traditions of circumcision, of dietary restrictions, and for the sacrificial cult of the temple. But they moderated the Sabbath to permit self-preservation by continuing to fight even on holy days. Today, we live by this tradition of pikuach nefesh, where nearly any law of Shabbat can be broken to save a life. Does this week's Hanukkah massacre at Bondi Beach change anything about us? The way we celebrate? The way we feel in this world? Each act of terror against Jews gathered to do Jewish makes me feel more vulnerable, more at risk. I know that Australia is far from here. I know the likelihood is that this synagogue, this Jewish community, is low compared to the thousands of targets available to anyone seeking to do harm. But I also know it only takes one person with bad intentions to cause massive harm and massive fear. Australia is seemingly the end of the world. I've personally never been, even though I do have cousins in Melbourne. Okay, they're like fourth cousins, but still. And yet, the gunning down of Jews on a public beach at a Hanukkah gathering feels very close, too close. I don't know the victims, but they could have been me. I don't know the community, but it could have been us. I don't know the ideology of the shooter, and yet it feels like it could have been anyone. And yet, I cannot live with a level of fear, of distrust, or of terror in my heart. I cannot be mom, Cantor, teacher, if I give in to the fear of the uncontrollable. And so I turn to community. I turn to the teaching of our texts. I turn to the prayers of our Siddur. I turn to all that has made us Jews, all that connects us throughout the world and across time and space. The very things that make us vulnerable to the actions of those who hate are the things I turn to bring me comfort, strength, and solace. I turn to you. I turn to our music. I turn to our connection. I turn to our gathering. These may not be rebellious acts of the Maccabees. Fortunately, that is not required in this particular country at this particular time. But these are acts of rebellion. The acts that say, if you desire me dead for being a public Jew, I will be more public, I will be more committed, more Jewish, and more a part of the community to help honor and support all those who show up, even with fear. Thank you for celebrating Hanukkah in your homes and publicly here. Thank you for joining in this building to celebrate Shabbat. To all our families with tots who are just down the hall, I thank them for bringing their children to celebrate, to learn, and to take pride in our tradition. We are always living in the middle. The redemption of next week's Torah portion is not knowledgeable in our age, and we may always cycle between highs and lows of politics of any age. But the middle asks us to make choices with real risks. Will Judah risk his freedom for Benjamin's sake? Will we risk the hatred of others to continue our traditions? Will the IDF make the brave choices that keep Jews safe, or will their choices put them more at risk? Can we even know in the midst of that decision-making? Will we keep showing up, prioritizing community, keep feeling connected to strangers around the world simply because we are Jews? This too is a choice. Like the Hellenized Judeans of Assyria, we can be universalists who prioritized universal ideas to the detriment of our specific particularity. Or, like the Hasidim of that time, we can be rigid in our following of God's law, ultimately being slaughtered on Shabbat for being unwilling to use weapons during a war on a sacred day. Or we can be like the Maccabees, sure of the core we are fighting for, the ways of God, the commanded ways of Judaism, but willing to compromise to succeed, to fight on Shabbat in order to fight for the right to keep Shabbat. Thank you for continuing to show up, to be Jewish, to bring your light and match it with the Neirot Shel Chanukah, our Chanukiah right here, to celebrate the miracle that takes place when humans work with God to bring them about. Happy Hanukkah, Shabbat Shalom.